Hello and welcome. This is I Seen You Before, and I have to say that I'm amazed by the lack of actual tutorials about Dominions 4. Therefore, I present to you a small series about the basics of the game. These episodes are going to be fairly short and condensed. Hopefully this will give you enough insight to get on your first Dominions 4 game. I will be separating the game's concepts over several tutorials, and hopefully you should be able to stand by your own feet by the end of this series. That being said, I present to you the definitive guide to Dominions 4, Chapter 1, before starting a game. Also, please note that I have provided timestamps below in the description, and you should probably follow the playlist for this tutorial. Alright, so one of the first steps to start a game is to first create a pretender god. Let us head straight into game tools and then create a pretender god. Pretender god for disciple games or creating a disciple is actually for another type of game mode that we'll show later on. So let's just click on create a pretender god. Then you'll be presented to early ages, middle ages and late ages. These ages represent which type of game you have created. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're actually gonna make an early age game. So we're gonna just go ahead, select early ages, and click OK. Next up will be the nation selection screen. So for the purpose of this tutorial, once again, I would recommend you guys to play as early age Ermor. It's fairly easy to play, has good troops for early expansion. Is actually not bad at all for a beginner nation. So we're just gonna head there and select Ermor. Ermor, if you guys get the wordplay, is actually based off Rome, like the Roman Empire. So yeah, we're just gonna select them right there. Ermor, the new faith. Okay, we're now at the god creation screen. The first thing that we need to talk about is selecting the physical form of your god. This pretty much impersonifies who your pretender god is going to be. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff right there. Right, that's why Dominions 4 is a bit daring and has lots of things to it. You have serpents, mythological creatures, some humans, some titans, and as well as immobile statues. So this will represent the physical form of your god. You will be as weak as a little archmage, human archmage, or you could be as strong as a celestial lion, or you could be pretty much as solid as a statue of war. So for the purpose of this tutorial, the pretender that I'll be taking will be what we call a skills pretender. A skills pretender is you pick him to focus on the skills, so that you're able to get more resources, more income, magic, and whatnot. So for this tutorial, we're going to go right ahead and select an oracle, which is right there. Also, please note that you're able to simply copy what I'm doing right now, and you'll be ready to just play the game. Alright, now let us move on to the skills. As you can see down there, we're presented by the skills. Skills and Dominion, which is represented here by the candle, actually represents the strength of your pretender god and how it will affect the provinces that you take. So we're gonna give a brief overview of every skill that we have here. Order is a skill that affects your income, unrest, as well as random events. The more order you put in, the more income you'll get from your provinces, the more unrest it will reduce, and the less random events will happen. The contrary of order is actually turmoil. So the more turmoil you put in, the more random events will happen, the less income you'll get from the province, and it's not causing unrest, it will just reduce unrest less. When you have order on a province, it will reduce the unrest automatically. So just keep that in mind. You guys can't really see it until we actually start a game, but that's basically what it does. For Ermor, I recommend taking an order of 3. This is the production slash sloth skill. With production, you get more resources, an increase in income as well, and that's about it. It just affects your resources and your income. The contrary is known as sloth. It will once again affect your resources and your income. Taking sloth will reduce the resources instead of increasing it. With production, similarly, it will have the same effect on your income. For early age armor, I recommend leaving this at neutral, or maybe even taking 1 point inside it. Next up is the temperature skill. With temperature, you can either go more hot or more cold. The temperature skill, the preference for it is different. It's different for every nation. Meaning, if we're playing as a Scandinavian nation, such as Vanheim, they usually have a preference for cold, meaning that they'll be at neutral on cold 2, increasing to cold 1, or getting into neutral will actually have a detrimental effect on them. For most human nations, such as Ermo, they have a preference for neutrality. As you can see right now, if I increase the heat or increase the cold, you're actually getting a negative penalty to income, supplies, income and supplies. So because every skill in the game costs 40 points, sometimes just to save a tiny bit of design points and to put it somewhere else, people take 1 in cold or 1 in hot. What I will do right now is I'll take 1 in hot and just leave it there, so I'll be able to save 40 design points. The next skill is growth and death. Usually as a general rule of thumb, you want to take growth, positive growth, for any human nation that you play, or any nation that you play that have old commanders. As taking the skills of death will not only decrease your supplies, but also affect the growth of a province, meaning that the province will slowly start dying over time. Moreover, it will also increase the risks that your old commanders or units get afflictions during winter. So that's why for Ermo, as we do have a few old people, we want to take at least a growth of 3, well actually not 3, a growth of 1. But I have a preference for 3 and we're making a skills pretender, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take a growth skill of 3. Now we have misfortune and fortune, the luck skill. The luck skill is pretty much as it says. When you add luck, it will increase the chance of random events and will make them by 45% positive events. On the other hand, increasing misfortune will still increase the random events, but make them bad events. Usually when people take order 3, they counterbalance it with taking misfortune 1 or 2. Taking a misfortune of 3 is actually very bad for you, as it will unlock events that are pretty bad in general. For example, you might get a turn 1 event that destroys your laboratory. Or even I don't think fortress, or temple. Those events usually set you off pretty bad. You also get a horrible event that says the magic is disappearing from the land, and as a result from this event, you might lose half of your magical gems, which is usually pretty bad when it happens. So just to counterbalance the order that we took, I'm going to take misfortune 2. Now, for the last skill, we have magic and drain. Taking the magic skill of 1 will increase the research of every mage by +1. Same thing goes with +2, +3 as you increase it, and it goes the other way around as you decrease it into drain with -1, -2 and -3. Also, when you're fighting in a province with magic 1 or 2, you have an easier time casting spells, but also it will decrease your magic resistance. Similarly with Drain, you will have a harder time to cast spells, but it will increase your magic resistance unlike decreasing it. Just think of it as if this province is more magical, so it's more likely for you to get affected by magic. I usually like to take 1 point of magic when I play as early age Ermo because this is really handy. Secondly, we're also going to add some Dominion. Dominion is needed because it represents how much faith people have in your god. Let's just say with no dominions, that means that no one believes in you. So because we're probably gonna use a skill pretender, we're gonna put him on dormant. We're going to get at least a skill of 6, which probably 7, something along the lines of this. Alright, before we move on to magic, I will talk about imprisonment. Imprisonment is very simple. You can save 150 points by making your god dormant, or you can get 250 points by making him awake. So basically what you do, depending on the type of god you are making, you will want to play around with this to get as many design points as you can to be as efficient in his role. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're creating a skill pretender, meaning that he can probably be dormant if not imprisoned. Dormant means that he'll wake up after the first year, which is about 12 turns, which means for the first 12 turns, you won't have access to your pretender god. Imprisoned means that he will wake up in the third year, meaning that's about 36 turns down the drain. So for about 36 turns, you will not see your pretender god. So give or take a few months, just like the tooltip is telling us. I think this keyboard is blocking it right now, so let me move the keyboard. Well, to my subscriber that wanted me to move that, I guess I'm just gonna have to put it back there because I thought it wasn't blocking anything, but it actually tends to block those tooltips. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave the keyboard here for now. Okay, as you guys can read down there, give or take a few months, which means plus minus 2 turns. This one is give or take half a year, which is plus minus 6 turns. So we're going to leave our god on dormant for the purpose of this tutorial, which is a skills commander. Now, the last thing that we have to look at is magic. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 types of magic in this game. You have fire, air, water, earth, astral, death, nature, and blood. Since we have a skills pretender and I'm not playing a bless pretender, I'll explain to you right now how magic works. As you can see down there, it says bless effects, which means you have sacred units and casting a spell called blessing on them will give them bonus attributes. Right now, the only thing they'll get from getting a bless will be morale plus 1. There's a minor bless in this game, as well as a major bless. Taking a minor bless, for example water, will just give the sacred unit plus 2 defense. Increasing this to 9 will also give him quickness, which means he'll be able to use his action points twice in a turn. I think it's actually use it 1.5 times more than usual. They nerfed that from Dominions 2 to 3, I believe, or 3 to 4. This means that blessing your units will not only give them plus 1 morale, it will also give them plus 4 defense skill, as well as the buff of quickness, which is a very strong buff. There are 2 types of blessers in this game, which is minor, which usually starts at plus 4 and increases per increment of 2. So you can see right now, at 4 water they get a defense skill of plus 2, at 6 water they get a defense skill of plus 3. If you increase it all the way to 9, they get a major buff, such as quickness. Just to give you guys a brief overview of every buff in the game, I'm just going to show you the minor and the major buffs. The minor buff of fire gives you an attack skill increase. Its major buff gives you flaming weapons, which means that you'll be doing armor negating piercing fire magic damage Here, the minor gives you precision, as well as an increase in your missile range. And please note, that will mostly affect only ranged sacred units, which are very rare in this game. Otherwise, the precision will be handy for, I guess, sacreds with low accuracy, or simply mages that are sacreds that will help them shoot better. You can just leave it at +4. Well, actually, what am I saying? I was meant to say the difference between this buff and other buffs is that the increasing by 1 seems to increase the missile range. A major buff of Air 9 gives all the sacreds an air shield of 80%, which means that they will dodge 80% of any incoming ranged attacks at them. Water, we've already seen this. As for Earth, you get reinvigoration of +2, meaning that every turn your unit will reduce their fatigue. Getting into a major buff will give you protection +5. Protection just means that you'll take less damage. And finally, we have Astral right there, which gives you magic resistance. If we increase it to a major buff, we get Twist Fate. Twist Fate means that you'll negate the first hit that hits you in a battle. Please note that this has been nerfed from luck, as now it's only 1 hit. Before, it used to be 50% chance to get hit on every action. Not lastly. Next we have Death, which gives you Undying +5. This basically means that when your unit is supposed to die, it will actually push forward and become /undead, something along the lines of this, and it won't die immediately. Getting it to Death 9 will give it the same major buff as Fire, just a bit less strong, but it will cause more afflictions. And next up we have Nature. Having a minor buff will increase the HP, and a major buff will give you regeneration, meaning that every turn your units will regenerate health. Now this might sound a bit ambiguous because we haven't seen exactly how a battle works yet, but let's just say that every turn in the battle your units will regenerate some health, and that's actually a very strong buff in the game. Now lastly, we have Blood. Blood will increase strength, which by consequence also increases the damage that your units can deal. So increasing strength will also increase the damage of your units. The major buff is called Blood Vengeance. Blood Vengeance is basically when you hit the sacred unit, there's a chance that the attacker will get the damage reflected back to him if he fails a magic resistance roll. So now that I gave you guys a basic overview, I'm just gonna explain that for this tutorial and simplicity, I am simply going to take High Astral as well as some minor water. So I'll probably do something along the lines of this. You guys can copy on this pretender. So we got 6 Astral, 4 water. We have enough for 2 more skills. So I'll be taking 1 more in production, and I'll be reducing the misfortune right there. So we're currently at Dominion 7, Order 3, Production 2, Heat 1, Growth 3, Misfortune 1, and Magic 1. That will be our Pretender God for this game. Alright, so let us just create him, and his name will be the Fountain of Caesar. Here we go. Alright, so we're gonna take a quick break right there, and we'll be back on the game creation settings. Also, as another note, if you guys want to learn more about different types of pretenders, please check out our Types of Pretender Gods video, which should be coming out very soon in the future, as soon as I'm done scripting and getting the footage for it. Alright, so we'll be right back. Okay, so where we want to go is create a new game. Next up, we need to choose a map to where to create our game. For first timers, there's 2 maps I would like to recommend. First one is Silent Seas, which is small enough. As you can see, there's a recommended amount of players of 2 to 4, maybe 5. I actually think this is better if you have 3 at most, and the underwater nation can count. But we're not gonna create a map on this one. Yeah, on that. Instead, I'm going to make a map on Aran, which is another map, but I personally learned how to play the game. So Silent Seas and Aran are pretty good to start your first game. If you want to follow this tutorial up to the letter, which is easily reproducible, just pick Aran together with me. So we're going to pick Aran. The once glorious kingdom of Aran was destroyed by a magical disaster that turned the kingdom into a barren wasteland several hundred years ago, suitable for 6 to 10 players. So we're going to call this your first game. And we're going to select early ages, because that's where we created our god. And we're going to select more right now, because that's who we created the god for. We're also going to leave it on normal. I recommend normal, but you will see that as you learn the game, getting rid of a normal AI is very easy. And we'll put about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Yeah, we'll just put the minimum amount of players needed. Alright, this is the basic nation description, because we're playing as Ermor right now. And instead of having to remake the god again, we're just gonna click on Load God and select the Fountain of Caesar. We could have called it a non-bloody Caesar. Yeah, to make a bad joke. Anyways, let us move on. These are the game settings that you need to set before you actually create the game. I'll tell you the default that most people put in multiplayer games, so you can get used to that. You know, it's a good practice before you actually enter your first multiplayer game. And I'll also explain to you what it actually does. The number of starting provinces is pretty much obvious. It's how many provinces you actually start with. Most people leave this at 1. The second option is the strength of independence. Most people leave this at 5, once again. It basically tells you how strong you want the independence to be. Independents are people defending the provinces that you're going to wreck in order to take their stuff. So most people usually leave it at 5. The special site frequency means how often do you want to see magic sites in the province that you take. So right now it's at 45%, and increasing it will make magic sites more common. Magic sites give you magical gems, and sometimes they have a special thing just to it. So you guys can just play around with it, but people usually increase it by 10-15% depending on how short or long the game is. But we're going to leave it as a default of 45%. Money, resources, and supply, multiple, just multiplies by 125%, or how much you increased it, or decreases the income, resource, and supply that every province has. Most people don't usually screw around too much with those settings, so we're leaving those at default once again. Next we have the divine rules. Random events are literally random events that happen at the start of every turn. I'll leave this on rare, but some people like to have more random events so they find the game less boring and turn it to common, but I'll leave it on rare for this game. Story events are mostly for single player. They'll give you events that don't usually happen, like they are specific per nation. There are events that can happen to everyone, like barbarians attacking you, and there are story events that will happen only to specific nations, like every nation has their specific story events. I'm going to turn this on for a demonstration purpose. Next up are score graphs. Score graphs are usually disabled in multiplayer games because that implies you need to do your own scouting. There are magic sites and magic spells that help you see all those graphs, but we're going to turn it on because we're playing against the AI. Usually those things are disabled in multiplayer games because scouting is very important. The Hall of Fame entries dictates how many people can enter the Hall of Fame. Right now it's at 10, meaning that we can have at most 10 heroes in the Hall of Fame. You guys will know about it a bit more when we start the game. Next up is the unique artifact forging rate, meaning that artifacts, you can only forge 1 a month. If you turn this off, that means that you'll be able to forge more than once a month. This is mostly dependent on the multiplayer game, but most of the time it's unlimited, because some people do rush artifacts. I personally never really played around with it. I do rush artifacts every once in a while, but against the AI, that's not really important. I guess you should turn it on just to practice a bit. Next up is the research. Putting the research on easy and very easy, or difficult and very difficult, will increase the amount of research that you need to level up one school of research. Most of the time this is left on standard in most multiplayer games. Sometimes it's changed to easy or very easy depending on the players there. For example, if you want to play a blitz, which usually ends in 2 to 4 hours, you want to put the research on easy so everyone gets to their spell faster and things like those. But if you're playing a longer standard game, it's mostly left on standard. For your own practice purposes, I recommend leaving this on standard, because playing on easy will give you the bad habit of not being efficient at research. Next up is the victory condition. Before in Dominions 1, 2, 3, we used to have conquer all, meaning that you just needed to eradicate your enemy completely to win. Now with Dominions 4, the current trend is to play with Thrones of Ascension, which is basically like a big capture the flag, except you don't bring the flag back. It's just hold this province, that's a special province, a throne province, and as you get enough of them, you automatically win the game. Victory points mean that certain provinces, as you hold them, will give you victory points. And as you accumulate those victory points, you will win. Like just those two right now. I don't usually play those rules, victory points. Dominions mean that you need to spread your dominion everywhere. Meaning that once you spread your dominion everywhere and everyone believes in your god, you actually won the game. So I'm just gonna go straight ahead and tell you that those other modes, like victory by provinces, get as many provinces, or victory by research, reach this much research, people don't usually play with them. Most people end up playing with victory by Thrones of Ascension. So for your first game, I'm actually gonna put a few different type of thrones so you guys get to see them. Let's put two level 3 thrones. Let's put maybe four level 2, and maybe put it like 8. There we go, 8 level 1 thrones. And let's put the win on about 14 is a good number. So this means once we get 14 like ascension points, like a level 3 throne will give you 3 ascension points. A level 2 throne will give you 2 ascension points. And a level 1 throne will give you 1 ascension points. So once you have a total of 14 ascension points or more, you win the game. That could be a combination of like 2 level 3 thrones, which gives us 6 points, and then 4 level 2, which will give us 8. 8 plus 6 will give us 14, but makes us win. Or it could just be like 8 level 1 thrones, and then 2 other level 3 thrones, that gives us 14 again, and that makes us win. So we're gonna put a total number of 22 thrones into the game, and a required number of 14 to win the game. Lastly, in the last 2 spots is master password. That's usually important if you're hosting a game and you don't want anyone to cheat, like to get on your host computer and try to change it. That's a bit different if you're playing with Llama server, because usually people don't have that. But yeah, just know that this is right there. Renaming, I don't know why it's not allowed by default, but I think that renaming should be allowed by default. It lets you rename your commander by pressing R when you right click and select them. Lastly, cheat prevention is usually on all the time, because I remember there was a guy that cheated quite some time ago. I don't really know how to cheat in Dominions 4, but I guess you should leave this on. But please note that if a random event that happens that gives you a crazy amount of gold, it will flag you as a cheater as well. So that's actually one bug which I believe was fixed over time. But yeah, okay. So let's just press OK, and we created our first game. This will just do everything right there. And there we go. We are now into our first game. Alright, we're going to take a break right here. This episode has covered the basics of creating your pretender and game settings. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and please give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps us to gain more exposure on YouTube. Stay tuned for the next chapter of this tutorial, named Your First Game. Those tutorials require a bit more time to make, so please bear with us, and see you soon.